forum hosted by jointly with Hong Kong Science Technology Parks and MIT Entrepreneur Forum. And today's guest is, without much needed for introduction, is Mr. Po Chung, co-founder of DHL, which is very much a world-renowned company. And he would be sharing with us how he pioneered the company and how to become a global company in terms of services innovation. So this is at the core of how Hong Kong can become very competitive and can build enterprises like DHL. We at the Science Park, of course, are nurturing a lot of young startups. At times, they can also become a global company. And it is with this kind of sharing that can inspire more and more successful companies down the road. We hope we can celebrate more local homegrown companies. Some might be from the Science Park, some might be outside the Science Park. But as a whole, we hope Hong Kong can build a very good base to become a leadership position for certain technology area and certain innovation area in the Asia and also for the world. So without further ado, I would pass the floor back to Sam for him to continue a wonderful introduction to Paul.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Appreciate that. Let me also add, this is just the very, very beginning. What you're going to see in the next 3 to 4 months coming from MIT Enterprise Forum is going to be awesome. I personally have a vision of reshaping the entire ecosystem of Hong Kong for entrepreneurs and the innovation economy. So just wait and see. This is just part of what we're doing over the year and next year. 8 public lectures. Half of them are technology matters, people like the CTO of IBM like we had last time. The other people hopefully will all be like Po Chung, someone who absolutely needs no introduction, but after 27 years in Hong Kong, I'm still shocked. I'll walk in a business room and say, oh, I have Po Chung coming to speak. Who's Po Chung? I've been here for a while, you do know who Po Chung is, but personally, I think the tourist board should put him on all the global advertisements because he's a true legend. From nothing, he built a global organization called DHL, which still stands today. I'm not going to go through his entire bio because that will be our hour-and-a-half session. But before I start this session, I just want to show a quick video. This was not made by DHL, but it's so creative, and we started the last session with the video, so bear with me. We're going to be Tosh 2.0 and have a YouTube video real quick. We hope.
In many countries, DHL has more locations, more vehicles, and more employees. That's why DHL is faster. However, to communicate this with a classic advertising campaign is expensive. So why couldn't the competitors advertise for DHL? For that purpose, giant packages were taped all over with thermoactive foil and cooled down below the freezing point. In this way, the competitors picked up a black package that transformed back at temperatures above freezing and delivered the message in the most beautiful colors to addresses in the city that were not that easy to find. After all, they were paid reasonably. The result, an innovative way to communicate, and everyone played along. Well, almost everyone. Thank you very much.
Perfect. And I would say that's a perfect time to bring Po up, but I just wanted to introduce a couple other people in the audience because they're also part of our ecosystem that we're building. Each of these briefings, and this is just part of what we're doing, these public briefings, we have what I call mentors. And during the conversation break after the end of this hour-and-a-half dialogue, they're available to answer questions. Let them do their own introductions. Elizabeth, could you introduce yourself and your expertise?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Can we have mics? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it on? Okay. Being a lawyer, you can probably hear me without a mic, but I've been in Hong Kong over 30 years. I started my own company in 1980 and sold it in 2012. So I've been through really the whole cycle of entrepreneurship, and I'd be delighted to help other entrepreneurs to move forward, to scale up your business. So please feel free to speak to me after we hear from Po.
Okay, hand it to Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael Lin. I'm a U.S. patent attorney, and I've been in Asia for about 17 years, Japan, Beijing, now here. I've just seen a lot of stuff in the IP field, so if you have any questions, everyone asks me, how do you enforce your IP in China? And that will be the subject of a different discussion. So anyways, if you have any questions about IP or how that relates to startups or maybe your industry, just feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Okay, and I have a friend right behind you, Henry.
Hello, I'm Henry Loh. I was born in Hong Kong, always been a corporate person, but my entrepreneurial experience basically relating to my building of publication and media, new media business in China and India. Basically, I'm a finance person by background, so I watch these numbers and growth very carefully. So I look forward to talk to you at breaks or after this section if you like to share some experience with me. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get the mic up there to Doug.
Hi, I'm Doug Weitz. I'm the founder of PRDA, which is Prosperity Research Digital Agency. We were the first pure-play social media agency in Asia, and we're very passionate about helping small to medium enterprises leverage social media in such a way as they can be effective against the marketing and the strength of the larger corporations and so forth. I think there's going to be a big shift in the near future about the kind of the social and the compassionate type of marketing. And so hopefully that'll be part of that.
Okay. And finally, Louisa.
Hi there, my name is Louisa Haining. I guess I'm here more on the...
It's not on.
Not a good start, is it? Hello? Any better?
Much better.
Hi, so I guess I'm here more on a people side, so I'm entrepreneurial and then I'm growing an executive search and HR consultancy here. We help both multinationals but also rapidly growing SMEs as they expand their businesses in Asia, help them to find people, develop them. So if anyone's looking for how either to develop their own career in that space or looking for advice on how to enter markets from a people side, that's where we operate.
I thought you were looking and hiring somebody now that wanted to do a plug
Well, yeah,
for.
we are in Hong Kong. We're hiring for a number of rapidly expanding e-commerce businesses, professional services firms. It'd be great to connect if people are interested in country manager roles, marketing roles, business development, those areas.
Okay, great, perfect. So during our conversation break at the end of this, hopefully there'll be lots of networking, exchanging of cards, and these mentors are people that you can go out up to for those special skills. Also wanted to let you know this is a totally open platform, MIT Enterprise Forum. And yes, I'm very grateful for Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks being our partner, otherwise we would not exist today. But our plan is to have this audience totally full. If that means bringing buses from Cyberport and Central and Quarry Bay, that's what we'll be doing. I was just having drinks with John Chen, who's the new CEO of Sybase last Wednesday during his first brief stop here in Hong Kong. He's also Hong Kong born and very much looks forward to addressing this group either in October or November. I should have those dates shortly. So enough about MIT. Watch this space. but more importantly, give a big hand of welcome and a standing applause for one of Asia's big, big legends, Po Chung. This man's a legend. Come. I'm six.
Thank you very much. I know Sam always wants to embarrass people. I've never been so embarrassed. Standing ovation in the beginning of my speech? No, I would rather have them after my speech, after my talk. I was asked to give just a 10-minute talk, and then I'm used to it, because TED Talks are only 14 minutes. 10 minutes is even better, because like my associates say, less is more. So I have only 12 slides, and these slides are actually highlights, so that later, if you want to ask something about those slides at certain points, then I can roll it out to 5-minute explanation, 15-minute explanation. Now, what I would like to share with you today, knowing that it's MIT, I would like to talk to less of the technology side of entrepreneurship and starting of a business, more on the people side of entrepreneurship, and also on the people side of commanding a team. An entrepreneur is a service leader. They provide vision, they provide sales. Actually, most entrepreneurs don't have the money, they don't have the banker, they don't have a customer yet, they don't have a supplier, they have an idea. And it takes a lot of selling, like when I started with DHL. I didn't start DHL. It was Adrian Dorsey, Larry Hoagland, and Robert Lin. But I was the international second-generation entrepreneur that they took from United States, San Francisco, and then they landed in Hong Kong and say, gee, Asia is the future of the world. So I was working for a toy company at the time, and they call on me and say, I understand you have to send documents back to New York. We can get your documents there in 1 day. And that was the pitch. And I took that and say, gee, if I need documents to New York in 1 day, I know there are at least 50 people I deal with on a daily basis that need their documents to New York in 1 day. I say, prove it. So Adrian Dorsey said, give me today's South China Morning Post. So I get the South. And he said, you sign on it, right? And put a message on it and say, who's your contact over there? I say, Joe Welsh. He said, dear Joe, right? When you get this newspaper, call me. Yeah. So that was Monday, and Tuesday I got a call in the morning. Joe said, oh, why did you send me this newspaper? I said, hang up. International phone is too expensive. Right? I got what I wanted. So I started using DHL. And a week later, Adrian Dorsey said, you know, this is the future. At least, you know, for Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is the hub. Hong Kong is a trading hub. You guys need the service like this so that that you can be a hub. And we did it, and I had to fight the post office. I got arrested, and I used the same argument with the Legislative Council and also the Executive Council at the time. And I say, we are the trading hub. We have banks, we have shipping companies, we have trading companies, all that depending on our ability to reach and communicate with the rest of the world. And if you shut DHL down, you'll be stuck with the post office, which takes about 4 to 8 days to go anywhere. And we can be a hub, a trading hub in Asia with a 4 to 8 day isolation. So, a little bit on myself. Why should you listen to me? Right? What's in it for you to listen to me? I will give you a little bit background. Number one is I was born in Macau. Unlike Peter Chan, is it Peter Chen? John Chen, was born in Hong Kong. I was born in Macau, but I grew up here. And I went to school in the States. And I got my degree in fisheries. Now, how did fisheries to do with my success in running a courier service? Well, a fisheries major actually does not manage fish because the fish doesn't listen to you and they can't talk back to you. But managing fish is actually managing a habitat, an ecosystem, so that the fish would be happy and they grow big and you have more fish to sell. And that's the background philosophy I have in running a organization, is you make sure the people in it is happy. And if you read the book that I wrote with Simon Yip called The 5 Dynamics of Entrepreneurship, you will get the detail of those. And that's for another presentation by itself. What I would like to cover today is basically this. Why service? The manufacturing universe versus the service universe, the 80-20 rule, purpose of service, genesis of service, one-dimensional man versus 12-dimensional man, and the 12th dimension of an entrepreneur. And the last one is manufacturing culture versus service culture. Why service? Hong Kong is already 95% GDP in service. 97% of our people are in service. So if you are thinking of starting a business as a, let's say, a university major, you wouldn't be thinking of a 5,000-man worker factory in Hong Kong. Because if you hire 5,000 people, you have to go to China. It doesn't make sense in Hong Kong. There's no space, there's no people, and the people are very expensive. So the only company you can start, actually, the average size of a Hong Kong company is 12 people, and they are all service people. So that's why. And our manufacturing's gone to the mainland and other countries. Also, we can't afford the rent. If you even start a restaurant in Hong Kong, the 3 months deposit plus the decoration would cost you $5 million or $7 million. And most entrepreneurs don't have that kind of money. And I already said that you would be better off if you start with 2 people and build it up to 12 people. That's your best chance of survival. The purpose of service is, the purpose of superior service is to create a relationship of forces or energy that guarantee we can hold on to our customers by making them want to come back again and again and again, so that we can continue to compete and grow. Now, this is probably the first time you ever seen somebody say, what is the purpose of providing good service? Right? And when we started DHL in 1969, Adrian Dorsey said, we are going to wrap superior service around a package. Because all packages to air freight forwarders or post office at that time were the same. It was a commodity. And DHL made it something special. So that, and that's by wrapping a superior service around a commodity. That's how we became successful. That was what I call our signature process. And we did it by extending the superior service from the point of receiving the order to the point of accuracy in billing. Because I was only given 10 minutes, so I kind of have to highlight everything. And it sounds, my slides sounds unjointed or desultory, but they are not really. By the end, you will see how it all linked together. Now, this is how I explain the difference between the manufacturing universe and the service universe. Number one, manufacturing is managing simple tasks. Because in a production line, when the task is too complicated, you split it in two. Otherwise, it becomes the bottleneck of the whole production line. So that's the efficiency and the best method of managing a production line. Service is not. Service is very complex, and also it's all connected. You cannot chop the service up, and you cannot, well, you can serve a breakfast with 4 people, but normally you don't do that. So it's one guy and one real-time process of serving. So the service task cannot be broken apart. Manufacturing, most of the time when you do things every step correctly, the outcome is predictable. You can even put a rocket onto the moon. But service is not service is not predictable. Anything can happen. Somebody take over a cup of tea, and somebody drops something, and driving a car, how to drive a car, that's predictable. The traffic is not predictable. And if you are in Nigeria, the traffic can be chaos. And that's why countries that are very good in managing manufacturing are not very good in managing service. And I'll show you the divide, the actually cultural divide between those countries. Service is the service provider, the service, and the customer. They all are in one place. So it's like the waiter, the breakfast, and the customer is in one place. Unlike manufacturing, when I went to South America, and Antarctica with my wife, we look at the souvenirs and return a penguin upside down. It says "Made in China." That is as far as you can from the manufacturing factory to where the souvenirs are consumed. And also in manufacturing, only the goods see the customer. The manufacturing, the line workers never meet the customers. And in service, the first thing is whether you are a lawyer, whether you are a teacher, whether you are a nurse, whether you are a doctor, the first thing you do is you meet the customer. So there's a lot of difference in the mentality and also the requirement of the service provider. This is the famous 80-20 rule. In technology, products is what we concentrate on. In service, it's people and experience. So, in technology, a lot of the business schools and the engineering schools emphasize particularly the business schools in engineering companies and technology universities spend 80% of the time on developing the technology, and they spend less than 20% talking about the people side of the management. Particularly when you have schools like Sloan. I am from Stanford. They have a Sloan school at Stanford too, so don't get me wrong in saying that Stanford school is only in Massachusetts, in MIT. But Sloan is from GM, and all he really wanted to do is to get a lot of good engineers. They don't want really, they didn't emphasize too much on the people side, the soft side of leadership. So on service, we're talking about, we still have technology and we still have skills that we have. So you still have the chefs, you still have the doctors that have, you still have the manager that has to understand the all the process of managing. So that is the technology. But most of the time, we have to communicate, motivate, and make people feel good for working for you. Service has been there for thousands of years, but it's only in the last 150 years that they got buried by technology. If you look at the hunter-gatherer period, the guy who leads the tribe from winter to summer, find food in the summer, where the berries are, where the animals are in the summer, he's a chief. And he becomes a chief because he has a better memory than anybody else. He can remember where to pick cherries and where to hunt animals. In the winter, he remembers where the elders take them into the caves and avoided the cold so that they don't freeze to death. And that's the service provided by the hunter-gatherer chief. The farming period, it's also, if those of you are Chinese, you have the 12 jite, and some of them say like Gingjat. Gingjat means wake up the worms, and you have them mid-August is where you harvest. So they give you divide the year into 12. 24, 15 days. So every 15 days, you'll be reminded this is the time to sow seeds. And we call it Bogong. And then Dongqi. And how do you, that's when you rest for the rest of the winter. So during the dukedom and the kingdoms, service was always in there. The king provided the ruling service, minister provided all the administration service, generals provided the military service, sheriffs provided the security service, the church provided the spiritual service, education and medical. So they were all services, no manufacturing, not up to that, not up to 150 years ago. That's when the Industrial Revolution took over, and you can produce many things. And then the service people came in and invented marketing so that you will buy things with money you cannot afford to impress people that you don't really like. That's basically what we end up now. And then now we're talking about a post-industrial service economy, because all the manufacturing went to, because of globalization, and because of companies like DHL and also Lianfeng that actually helped to move manufacturing to the part of the world that is cheaper and can make things better. So Hong Kong is 95% service. There's only one place in the world that has a higher percentage of service. Actually, that place is 100% service. It's the Vatican. The Vatican is 100% service. New York is up there in the 80 percentile. London is up there in the 80 percentile. So the future of developed countries has to learn much more about how to run a service organization and how to lead people. one-dimensional man is for manufacturers. If you have 2 hands, 2 feet, you are willing to come in and work for 10 hours, 12 hours, then you can work, you can be successful as a manufacturing community. I already talked about managing simple tasks. So, 2 hands, 2 feet, and then they would like you to leave everything outside the door. Your morality, your interests, your family problems, your emotional problems, they want you to leave it out the gate of the factory. They don't want to hear about it, they don't care about it, and if you commit suicide, it's just too bad. The iPad will go on. 12-dimension man. This is the list that I created or well, put together. This is a checklist of what a service person actually has to be aware of that, and also develop their skills. This is called, each of them is called one dimension, and this is not, you can break this down into 30, 40, but 12 is about the minimum you can have, right? You have the functional dimension, moral dimension, leadership dimension, intellectual dimension, social dimension, spiritual dimension. Not that you have to be a religious person, but you have to show some interest on things that are bigger than you are. Human rights, pollution, climate, and poverty, and so on. Caring, health, wealth, finance, happiness, mindfulness, and personal growth. I'll be happy to explain all this when we have the question and answer period. So, manufacturing culture and service culture. Now, this is really eye-opening. If you read the list on your left, you have China, Japan, Korea, Russia, Eastern Europe, Germany, France, Italy, and actually United States is down here somewhere, down here. But also United States, on the service side, United States is also there. And I'll explain to you why. You have United States, Canada, UK, British ex-colony and Commonwealth, Hong Kong, Singapore, India, there's a whole. Now, what's the difference between these two? Right. This is what we call continental, top-down countries that's run by an emperor or a king. And everybody look upward for instructions, because the biggest empire in the world in history is the Genghis Khan, the Mongolian empire. And if you're in southern India, and if Genghis Khan doesn't like you, you'll be dead in 1 month. My student says, why 1 month? I say, that's the time it takes the horse to go from Genghis Khan to you. And then you say, chop this guy's head off. So that's 1 month. So nobody dare to do anything unless they clear with somebody out there and share their responsibility. Now, in a service, you can't do that. If everybody, we were running 14 regions around the world. If every region has one question each month, the top guy would certainly don't have big enough brain to handle that. And if all 12 months and you have 14 questions over 14 months, the whole network would stay. Now, if you look at, we know all these people, all these countries are very good in manufacturing. So China, who came from nothing to the best factory in the world in 30 years, Japan, Korea, Russia. How about here? If you look at all the 6-star global international service chains, enterprise, they all came from this side. Hotel, right? Four Seasons, Canadian. Marriott, American. Grand Hyatt, American. Conrad Hilton is a Jew, but he's American. United Kingdom, you have the Lingham Hotel, you have Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a very small place. Up to now, it's 7 million people. But when we have 4 6-star hotels, we only have 5 million. That means the 4, Peninsula, Mandarin, Shangri-La, and the region. Now it's no more region, it's called Intercon. But that's a very interesting story when John Burns sold, who is a Jew, and an Anglo-Saxon, and who sold the company to the Japanese. It went from 6-star to now maybe between 4 and 5. At least my wife would not let my daughter get married there. She insisted on the Grand Hyatt. If you go to all your friends that are really a little bit fussy or picky, you'll find that you'll be going to the wedding in Four Seasons Grand Hyatt. And certainly the region was our favorite about 10, 15 years ago. So, okay, business consultant, McKinsey, Boston Group, Bain, Booz Allen, or on this side. The best airline in the world. There's so many airlines in the world. How come Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines always on the top, and now Dragon Air is coming to the top as a regional airline? Of course, in Singapore, I would say Singapore Airlines and Cathay Pacific, but I'm in Hong Kong, so I say Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines. Courier companies, only 3, well, 3.5. There's DHL, FedEx, UPS, and TNT. Even TNT is from Australia, right? The funny thing is, nothing is from this side. No service, 6-star service network, global network comes from this side. Let's see, supply chain manager, Lian Feng. Right? Exhibition and event manager, Pico. It's a Singaporean company who came listed in Hong Kong, and now they have 45 offices around the world, serving 45 countries. Advertising agency, PR, law, accounting. So, this is where the culture of the country produce. Not that one is more superior than the other one, but they come from very different mentality. We can discuss that during the answer. So, my 10 minutes is over, and so now it's up to Sam.
Oh, actually, your 10 minutes was 30 minutes, but you're such a delight to hear. I've stopped ministers after their time went up, but you can go on anytime. You're absolutely brilliant. I have a book for the first question out there. There are mics being passed along. Our mic people stand up so people can see you. Either catch their eye or my eye, otherwise I can ask questions all day long. There's one there. As you get the microphone there, let me ask the first question though. My prerogative. My show. If we're mainly service economy, which we all know, and that's been happening for a long time, what function does the Trade Development Council actually perform? And if we had that money to put into a venture capital pool or an angel investor pool, wouldn't that be a better way to use those funds today? It's an old economy model. we need something for the new economy, is what I'm saying.
I think, well, I have to disclose a conflict of interest because I sat on the Trade Development Council for 6 weeks. And my best friend was the chairman of the Trade Development Council, Dr. Victor Fung. So at that time, that was before Mr. Peter Wu, must be about 15 years ago, we already started pushing the service. And actually when Dr. Fung was in APAC, he pushed the trade side. The problem with Trade Development Council is, of course, they were put together with with many manufacturers sitting on the council first. I think I was the first service person to sit on the Trade Development Council. And then when China opened up, there's a lot of service, a lot of manufacturing that needs the promotion of trade, trade of goods instead of trade of services came. And so we felt that we were obligated, and rightly so, to serve both Hong Kong and later Pearl River Delta, and that's why we formed the Pearl River Delta Business Council, and then later it went up into the Yangtze River, serving that side. The key to service actually is to make people aware. They have to move from this side of the universe to that side of the universe. It's more of an education problem than a trade development.
Okay. I want to have another discussion on this sometime, but I know we have a question up here, and you were the first one, so you get a book. Doug.
Okay, my question might be a little left of center, and I apologize for that in advance, but it is a serious question. You're the co-founder of DHL, a global organization with a master's of logistics. They're able to track small and large packages or parcels anywhere on the planet at any given time without losing them, and they arrive literally overnight. That was your first, basically, your story that you told. And that was way back when 24-hour service was probably a real challenge, unlike it is today. So I ask you this as a person who's worked in this industry with all this time and knows all of this capability. Where is the Malaysian airline? I mean, I ask that seriously. You probably know more about this than anybody else.
Yeah, you know what? If we had package on there, we would be able to tell you. Nobody's said anything from Malaysia to Beijing on that day. So.
If I had another book, I'd give it to you. Okay, we have a question back here.
Hi. I noticed you said that your background is in the toy industry, and I'm actually currently working at Mattel myself. So, as an aspiring entrepreneur also, I was wondering if you could share some of the key lessons that you learned from the toy industry that could be applied towards you starting DHL.
I want to make clear that I did not start DHL. Otherwise, it would be DHLC or CHL, right?
Co-founder.
You're right. So I had a model. Somebody gave me the model. Or, the founders DHL, came to Hong Kong the model. Now, where I contributed, and I really believe in that, was putting an international element on DHL. Because DHL was an American company, it has American culture, American way of thinking, and actually before they came to Hong Kong, they didn't even have to go through customs, right? Hong Kong was the first customs, so Manila was another one, Japan was another one. So custom is one. Number two is when you have a company that is single culture, it's very easy to manage. But within the first 15 years, we opened up in 125 countries. Now, then we're talking about 125 major cultures. But actually, as you know, as I know, is that the Wan Chai culture is very different from from the Shatin culture and very different from Taiwan culture. So we work in a lot of smaller culture, and it took us some time, maybe 1 or 2 years, to figure out that the only viable social culture that everyone share is the family culture, because everybody had fathers, mothers, and also uncles. So we are not a company that practice nepotism, but we practice family relationship. There are two kinds of relationship in a company: contractual relationship and covenantal relationship. Contractual relationship is what you can write down and say, you come and work at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning and you quit at 6. And so many days of holiday, this is how much we pay you, and also this is, you know, how you'll be protected on medical. Those are contractual. But covenantal relationship are relationships that are manifested by the behavior of 2 parties or 3 parties. That it's like the relationship between a nephew and an uncle. It's never written down. But the 2 parties manifested in their relationship, that they know where they stand and how they behave towards each other. And we have a saying, you don't fire your uncle, and you don't fire your nephew. If your nephew is not good enough, right, it's your fault. So, our supervisor, after 3 months, the supervisor cannot come and say, I don't think so and so is good enough. We should fire him. We say, no, it's your responsibility. If he's not good enough, you are the uncle, he's the nephew. So you have to fix it. And also, if you have two guys have problems, the best way is I deal with my daughters. You guys figure it out yourself. Don't come to me with your problem. So people learn how to live with each other, and then they work out the compromise, work out the internal consistency of values, and then they concentrate all the energy fighting competitors, not fighting each other.
Okay. Another question?
Yes, Mr. Chung.
Yes.
I'm William. You have a slide showing the difference between the manufacturing
Yes.
countries and then the other side is service countries. So after 1997, Hong Kong has become a part of China. We become a special administrative region. And also Hong Kong used to be, not used to be, but since the maybe 1980s, it's recognized as a metropolitan city.
Sorry, I think.
Metropolitan city. That means
Metropolitan.
Yes, metropolitan, yes. Right.
So it's international city. Okay.
Yes, right.
That means we are now we are now changing from the manufacturing industry or economy to a service industry or service economy. But we also know that we are aware that the world is becoming flatter. The world is flat. That means the global competition around us, not just China, not just Southeast Asia, in fact it's all over the world. And also, in fact I was born in Hong Kong, actually in Hong Kong, living in Hong Kong, working in Hong Kong. And we and other people realize that there are many problems in Hong Kong, unsolved or unresolved problems. So can you give us some advice about how Hong Kong should do, what also survival strategy Hong Kong should have in order to regain or to maintain the competitive advantage
Right. Yeah.
for us.
Okay. Hong Kong is part of this side, right? And China is part of that side. But even China realizes now that being manufacturing also need a service economy. They are trying to build good and inexpensive, good value goods product. But they still, I am sure that they realize it. They deal with ex-factory products. That means at the factory door, they hand the goods over to transportation company, shipping company. Actually, the other part beyond their factory door is all service. Distribution service, logistics service, marketing service, and brand building service. And they are trying to very hard to learn that part of it. Now, the problem we have in Hong Kong right now is a clash of two cultures. It's the clash between the manufacturing culture, which is top-down. Service culture is bottom-up and top-down. Right? And sometimes when you have a regime that is very used to all top-down, what you lack is what we call intellectual humility. That means your idea is always better than the other guy's idea. The other one is leadership humility. We all know that in Hong Kong, when we lead, we have to listen to people, and we have to have certain confidence to be the leader, but we also need the humility of leadership so that you can listen to the people who come out from the ground, from the field, and tell you, hey, that they actually is not. What I see in Hong Kong now is that actually that clash, and certain people would say, hey, the Chinese model is better than the Hong Kong model. In fact, they say the Chinese model, the Beijing model is the best in the world. But it doesn't work in a service environment. It doesn't work in a global environment. That's why. Because service is built on trust and also respect. Yeah. You cannot have a whole a troop of followers following you if you don't command their respect and their trust. So the soft power is much more important than the hard power. Hard power is physical power. If you don't listen to me, I'll punch you in the nose. Or if you don't listen to me, I will withhold your pay or fire you. That's the hard power. But the soft power is, I am a good role model that you want to emulate, and I have a good life story that I can articulate that you want to follow. Now, that is soft power. And leading people is completely different from leading machines and production line. I would say we are getting mixed messages about, not from Beijing, about Beijing. Because I think Beijing understands that the role that Hong Kong can give them a link to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world needs service. They already, Beijing already can sell the goods, but they need people like Lian Feng, they need the law firms, the accounting firms, the courier services and all. And the other way of answering your question is, what is left for the Hong Kong people to do, right? I would say Hong Kong people have two killer apps. First one is to maintain our integrity, trustworthiness, and respect from the rest of the world. The other one is to be able to think independently and critically. Because if you don't think independently and critically, you cannot provide service. Because you cannot, what we call Chinese, 執生, right? Only Hong Kong people know how to 執生. You know, Japanese don't know how to 執生, Taiwanese don't know, the Chinese don't know, Singaporean don't know how to 執生, and only we know how to 執生. That's because we were allowed to think and act. Now, in school, they may not teach us that, but once you work for a year with your service boss, if you ask the boss too many questions, he say, hey, stop asking questions, just deal with it. Right? That means he has empowered you to make a decision and carry it out. Now, that is the key to the service. If the doorman at Grand Hyatt opened the door and somebody bumped his head and start blood coming out, right? He doesn't say, I have to call my manager to see if I can, to patch you up. He just, rush in and do it. And that's part of service is improvise and make decisions and carry it out. Give yourself the permission to carry those out. Now that, I think, is what I heard English lady who started Body Shop, Anita Roderick. Yeah. She said, go where a competitor cannot go and will not go. Service is service with integrity, trust, and respect, and independent critical thinking are two things that our competitor will not go and cannot go. Because if we become one of the one-dimensional men in China, we just all of a sudden attracted 1.3 billion people as competitors for jobs. Yeah. So if we can keep what we're good at and convince Beijing that in some way they don't realize and how valuable Hong Kong is. I burn incense. It's called 沉香. 你唔食沉香嘅話咧，係爛柴嚟嘅 because it looks broken pieces of chips. Yeah. 唔識沉香當爛柴. The other one is we have to appreciate that we are probably the most fortunate one among all the people in China already. So we say 心在福中不知福，對面就係唔識沉香當爛柴.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick follow-up question. Hong Kong's always been known as a great entrepreneurial hub of the world, or one of them. Do you still see that the situation today?
Okay. I enjoy listening to myself too much. Can you repeat the question again?
Hong Kong's always been known as one of the great entrepreneurial hubs globally.
Yes.
Would you still think that's true today, and will it be true 10 years from today?
Right. The scale would probably not the same, because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that's where all the property giant came, and a lot of the manufacturing was done here. Now, we still have people who come from all over the world and say, hey, you ask Invest Hong Kong, they will tell you that people are still coming here to start company. It may not be like manufacturing companies, may not be anything that has to do with cheap labor, no. But if they want to be creative, they want to be easily set up a company, and also we have many incubating places like Cocoon, where you can kind of after work you can sit there with 30 other entrepreneurs and rub shoulder with them.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, we'll make sure it doesn't die down.
Yeah.
I have another question here, and then another one down here. Catch my eye.
Hi, Mr. Strong. Thank you very much for the talk. So my name is Tim, and I have a question about your idea of individualism, centralized control, empowerment for employees, or service that try to make those three elements in the service industry. And you seem to suggest that those are the keys to success for a service company, as opposed to combining control in manufacturing. So my question is that if you take that approach of centralized power, how do you ensure the consistency of the service and the quality of your service? So for example, if you walk into this shop, you have this experience today, and how do you ensure it's the same experience another place in another time, if you allow the employees to just do whatever they think is the correct thing to do without, do you think you should give guidelines in certain situations about what you do, or do you think you should let them just think outside the box?
Right. Okay. Our guidelines are basically push decision to the lowest level, because the people who are actually in the front line is what competition is about, and competitive quality is people in the front line. So push decision to the lowest level. Second one is make sure that they understand the strategy of the company and the tactic of the company. Otherwise, giving them the power to make decision is like giving them a gun. Showing them the strategy is like showing them what the target looks like. Otherwise, they would shoot themselves in the foot. Right? The other thing is to make sure that they feel secure to carry out those decisions that they make. And so we have a rule and say you can make any mistake once. Right? Unless it's morally wrong, then we have to really look at it. But misreading the traffic, that it's a kind of mistake. But that the traffic change every day, unpredictable. So we say we will not punish you for making mistakes, operational mistakes, but make sure you tell everybody on your team and also all the supervisors so that they don't make the same mistake. So if there's a group of 6 of us, I make one mistake, I don't tell anyone because I'm scared of telling everyone or embarrassed telling everyone because the company say you are not allowed to make mistakes or don't ever make mistakes. So I don't tell anyone. So I make one mistake. Next guy make his own mistake and make my mistake, right? The third guy make his own mistake, my mistake, and the second guy mistake. So 6 guys, you end up with 30 mistakes. But if we share those mistakes, we are holding it down to 6 mistakes. And that's when a courier company or a service company, the guy who makes the least mistake wins. It's like playing golf. It's like life as well. Life is the guy who is successful are the people who make less mistake. I don't mean by bumping your head against the glass because you didn't see the glass. I'm talking about moral mistakes, and those come back and haunt you.
Okay. Down here, Elizabeth.
I liked your list about 12 dimensions of the entrepreneur. And I'd like to bring this back to you and your experience.
Yes.
I picked out in there health, happiness, mindfulness, personal growth. And I think we all know as entrepreneurs that we give a lot to our clients, we give a lot to our staff. And my question is, how did you not give everything to the clients and the staff, and how did you achieve some of these areas for yourself? What did you do that ensured that you had health, happiness, mindfulness, and personal growth?
Right. I didn't have that list when I was 30 years old. Okay, I have that list when I was 60 years old. So actually, I paid for it. I paid for it with my health. That's the first thing. Yeah. I had clot of kidney, and so I was in dialysis for 2 years until I get a new kidney year before last. So now I'm at the tail end of my recovery. So the other thing is get good help. A good spouse is a good help, right? Good secretary is a good help. Good housemate is a good help. Good, so that can good assistant managers, good hire people who are better than you are, and they will take care of you. But also you have to keep their respect and trust. So my attention is more attention to the people. DHL is a very simple company, right? Pick up things and make sure it gets to the other side and deliver. So in a service, in a product, it's very simple product. But the deviation is variety, unpredictability is very immense. And that's why you train the people down on the floor to make sure that they keep the mistake to the minimum. And that's how we think. Yeah, out of the 12, we also talk about the Anna Karenina principle. Anna Karenina is a book written by Tolstoy. And the first line of the book says, all happy families are the same. All unhappy families are different way of unhappy. So it's not how good your good traits are. Watch out for your worst trait. Because one worst trait can destroy your whole career or your whole reputation and your whole success of the company. So it's a balance. It's a really balanced trait. Yeah. And yeah.
Another question. Before you ask your question, I assume over the years, I know through your charitable activities, you do grants and things like that, but I assume you've done your own friends, family, angel investing. Any good stories and horror stories?
The Chinese say if your energy is not there, it's not your money. I didn't really know what that means. It means if you're not running it, you keep on to your money. Yeah, because the best plan in the world, if you got the wrong horse, the best horse in the world, but if you get the wrong cowboy, it still would not finish the race. And I have so far 3 or 4 of them that, as an entrepreneur, we're always optimistic. When you hear a good idea, you say, hey, that's a good idea, I should invest in it, right? So the idea carry you away, but you forgot the guy has never done anything close to what he's thinking about. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 that cost me big money. Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to tell all the story. We have another question up here.
I'm referring back to your list of the different kinds of countries that are strong in manufacturing service. So my question is, if I am the Prime Minister or President of, let's say, a developing country, like say Indonesia or Kenya or Guatemala, what would your recommendation be as to which path to pursue for development? Do we build up our manufacturing base, or like in India, they focus on perhaps their service sector. So as an emerging country, which might be the way to pursue if we're pursuing development?
Right. All countries are not created the same. Yeah, I already gave you 2 sides. Right? If I were in Indonesia, I would rely on manufacturing and natural resources. If I were India, take advantage of that service mentality and that I call it the British soil. It's not Britain, it's the diasporic, that means the sprawling British Empire soil, including colonies and Commonwealth. It's funny that the Indians don't do a lot of entrepreneurs in India, they may start small businesses. It's when they get into California, when they came to Hong Kong, when they came to Singapore, that somehow they fell on the right soil and they grow. And Chinese, overseas Chinese the same way. Right? And Italy, the Italians the same way, French the same way. They have to go where the British soil or Anglo-Saxon soil is. And even the Jews, you know, they have to be where, they have to go to America, England, to be, well, the most powerful bankers are Jewish, and they flourish in England and America.
Okay. John.
So I have a DHL related question.
Yes.
I'm curious, so it seems that DHL managed to get their product from start to finish faster than your competitors. What led to that competitive advantage? So what did you guys do better with dealing with bottlenecks that led you to be more efficient than your competitors?
When we started, we follow a Chinese saying, is open as many countries as quickly as possible, because the network will make it your competitive edge. So also, we were brave enough or gutsy enough to challenge all the post offices around the world. In every country that way we went, we had the post office always come after us. I was arrested, and a few of my colleagues around the world was also arrested. And but eventually, all the countries woke up to the fact that they have to trade, otherwise they would not be able to survive or compare. So building the network was our first competitive. The other competitive factor. So even now, there's only actually one global courier service, it's DHL. Because if you look at FedEx and UPS, they are airlines, cargo airlines, and they serve very well between Asia and Europe, Asia and America. If you go to South Africa from, let's say, northern China, I can't. Are we recorded? I think they're useless. From Indonesia to South America, they are not too good because they have to go through their 3 or 4 hubs, and we would be able to go only 1 hub or 2. So it's speed, and also we wrap superior service and service. A lot of it, if you provide it under one roof, like McDonald's, you can say to Johnny and say, Johnny, you're not smiling from 9 to 11 this morning. Can you remember to smile tomorrow? And this Johnny said, how do you know that? Oh, we have a camera on you. But courier service is not, you walk in Bank of America, you walk in Sealand, you walk in Maersk, your operation environment or habitat actually extend to your customers' environment. So what you have to do is make sure that guy or that girl is happy when he walks into the customer's premises. And that's where the fisheries management mentality comes in and say, make sure the fish is happy so that the courier would naturally smile when he she sees the receptionist. Okay. That's the key. The third one was don't gouge your customer even if you have monopoly. For the first 15, 20 years, we have a virtual monopoly because none of the big companies could explain to their shareholders how they can go around the world and challenge post office. We were the only one. So we had a virtual monopoly. But during all these years, there was no gap between our pricing and our profit that other people can cut in and build a business unless they really, really have to cut into their own profit in their home country. So.
Okay, we have a lot more questions and limited time. Question up here.
Mr. Chung, thank you very much for your many insights and stories. My question is actually a continuation of several things you have touched upon this afternoon. And it's, when you think about what Hong Kong is today and what Hong Kong is like going to be in the near future, let's say what its competitive advantage are going to be in the next few years, and if you were to start a company, what company would it be and why?
All right, you get this book for the most difficult question. Okay. He has to think about that one. It gives him time to think too.
Right. Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Number one, I wouldn't start anything that I don't know about, right? Because if you come up with a new idea, and somebody is already in that business, he has a connection, he has the banks, he has customers, and he has the suppliers, and then he can copy your idea, and then he can do it better than you do. So if you don't know anything about that industry, get a partner that's in the industry so that he can solve those barriers for you. The other one is find a way to solve pain so that people would buy your service because they have a pain. And sometimes they don't know they have a pain. So you have to be a good salesman. Pain.
But healthcare in general, I think, is what you're also saying will be.
No.
No?
I'm talking about operational pain, financial pain, a whole bunch of pain, legal pain. So if you relieve pain, then people would say, you know, I have the pain. I need to get rid of that pain. So whether it is a telephone app that can, you know, relieve other people's pain, or you know, service and if you have enough people from certain part of China and the food of that part of China is not in Hong Kong yet, I would start something like that.
Okay. We're going to send you the bill for this question, for these answers. All right, another question over here. For a comment.
Explain the tyranny of the property developers.
Okay. I was a victim of that. I run one of my businesses, right, rented a premise. Number one, they ask you for a certain amount of rent, so you agree on the rent. Except they have a little clause in there saying that they will share your profit and loss account, right? And they want a percentage of your profit and loss account. Now, and then they will think of what kind of rent they will collect from you as a percentage of your profit and loss. And they can see how successful you are, so that when they put up their rent, they know that, yeah, I think this guy can afford it. Now, nobody around the world would rent you a resident saying that, Professor, right, I not only want to have $40,000 of rent, but I also want to see what your bonuses are and what your raise are next year. Right? That's number one. Number two is they would ask you for, let's say, 20% raise on the next contract. they know that you have invested $3 million on the decoration, and that they have to amortize it over 2 years because all the contracts are 2 years long. Then if you say, you know, I can't really afford it, can you rent it to me, let's say, at the same price or 10%? And they'll say, no, right? And then they turn around, right, and rent it at below what you're paying them because they can get the other guy's hair wet by having that guy invest $3 million on the new fixture and furniture. And you're stuck because you have to destroy all that decoration. Now, that is their message to the market and say, you tenants, don't ever dare to argue with the landlord. Yeah, I will rent it lower to the next guy than I will ever rent it to you next time. That is called the tyranny of the property owners. I'm not saying that big property, but everybody owns something, rent something out. So it's not only the big 10, it's probably the big 20,000, 20,000 landlords. Yeah.
So they really run Hong Kong.
How long have you been here? Okay. Took you that long to figure that out? Okay, right. Question here.
Hello? Okay. Hi, Po. I actually work with Po, so I know a lot of the material that he's developed. And I think it would be very helpful in a sort of useful way if you discuss one, the importance of design, because that's something that they can actually use no matter what, and also the entrepreneurial cycle to solve problems.
Right. Actually, a lot of the work of a service manager, a entrepreneur, his work is design, and yet the business schools don't teach design. Architecture school teach design, engineering school teach design, creative departments, painting, art, all talk about design and teach the concept of design. Business school don't teach design. Why? Because the employers don't want you to contaminate the student with the idea of design, because they want the student to come in and join their already designed system. So they don't want you to say, oh, I can come in and break all the rules. They want you to follow the rules. So design actually is so important in whether you're designing an app, designing a machine, designing a program, designing a business. So when we're talking about service, design is also very important. Number one, design your team. In that book that we wrote is make sure that the garage team, you make sure that there's a certain way you should select your garage team. If you don't select them correctly, number one, if you hire an account manager too early, accounting manager, you should only have one of the secretary keep books. Don't hire an accountant. Otherwise, the accountant would be looking for things to do, and he or she would put all kinds of rules and regulations where you don't have the time or the money to keep those rules and regulations. The other thing is make sure that people that you hire agree with your vision, and also they don't need motivation. Because you don't have time to motivate them. They have to be self-motivated. They have to look for things to do instead of asking you and say, what should I do next? No. Yeah, they should do multitasking. They should do. They should be able to sell. They should be able to build. They should be able to pick up and deliver that. Because these people if they are not ready to grow, they would clog up your promotion channel. And there's nothing worse than somebody sitting there and work for you for 10 years but cannot move up. Yeah, because he's actually blocking all the other promotion channels. So, did I? Yep.
Did it cover everything?
Exactly. Cycle. Okay. Actually, it's not only the entrepreneurial cycle. It's the creative cycle is number one. When you're given a situation, starting a company is a situation, starting a new department is a situation, starting a new family's situation is number one. Understand. First, it's like Covey said, first seek to understand. So when you're looking at something, try to understand it. And usually, you can understand it much better if you do it a certain process, which is called deconstruction. Take it apart to the simplest part, so that it's not one blob. So I learned golf, not as one game. I learned golf as 8 games. Putting is a game, short game is a game, driving is a game. So all of them are carry out differently, strategic. So understand by deconstructing, then articulate it, talk about it, so that the whole team know what you're talking about. Then they can give you feedback. Then design it, because now you have the understanding of the problem or the situation or the project. Design it, but make sure that you obey certain laws of the design. Designing a human system that doesn't obey all the human system has a problem to it, because sooner or later you will run into problems. It's like designing a human system that doesn't take care of moral, doesn't take care of trust, doesn't include respect. You eventually has problem. And then if you have a system that only emphasizes on money and neglect trust, neglect all the other humane things, you have people who will do. Who would think that the money and justify all means, and they would do all kinds of funny things. So the people needs designing, the environment, habitat needs designing, and it has to link to all the natural laws. Like climate laws, pollution laws, water laws, morale laws. Morality is a law, because we are what we are today because our ancestors have obeyed certain laws, which is actually justice and compassion. Because we don't want to be treated unfairly, and we don't feel like if we are not treated with compassion, if our leader doesn't care about us, or they don't have to show that they don't care about us. All we have to do is see how he treats him. And you say, hey, if that's the way he treats him, what happens if he treats me one day like that? Then I say, hey, let me change leader. Because I'm a good man, I can work anywhere. Good people are like volunteers. They can work anywhere they want to. Yeah. And so, treat people with decency, and let them grow. And if you want to let them grow, you have to let them think independently and critically. You can't talk always about the collective. You have to pay attention to the individual as well.
Okay, I know we have some other questions, but I promised at the very beginning of this process, we're always going to start on time, whether you're here or not, and we're going to end on time. So just to end with, just want to ask you a couple of questions. Do you use any devices? A BlackBerry, iPhone? Are you a gadget guy? You got your iPad?
I use Apple.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a member of what they call Apple Master. Way back, I was an immigrant to modern technology, so I didn't want to learn a new way of dealing with the program. So Apple was very good for me. You know, when you open up all those pull down, you know exactly where everything is. So I can't use a PC. I use iPad. I read my books on Kindle.
Do you read your newspapers on a Kindle? Or?
No, I like to get my hand dirty.
Okay. If someone were going to design a product for you in 5 years' time that you would find very handy, what would it be?
I think it would be something that can draw, narrow the distance between me and my grandchildren. So that's an idea, but it depends on the arts. Yeah.
All right, and we have a patent attorney who can put patent on that. One final question. Over the years, I've known you for a long time, and it was just you and Stan Scher, who was one of the founders of Acer, who all during the years that I had you at conferences at The Economist or Dow Jones would always say, this is not a family business. I have professional managers, yet all of Asia and a lot of Hong Kong are family businesses still. Do you see that continuing to be true, and does that give us a competitive strength somehow?
Until Lee and Fung came along, I thought family business cannot be beyond a certain size. And also beyond DHL came along, I went to a business school which says you can't really run a company like a family. Yes, DHL, no nepotism, but it's run like a family because the relationship and all that understanding and all that values are family values. I have to say that the business school should really think about not producing more nepotistic companies, but companies that run with compassion and run with the family values, because more and more we find that people work for companies that really concerned about how the people in the field, particularly when you have people who are creative, service-minded. Instead of one dimension, they put everything outside the gate when they come and work, and then when they quit, they get so depressed, they go and get drunk, and then go back home, and then come to tomorrow morning and put in another 12 hours. And that's certainly not the way to manage creative people and service people.
Okay. And with that, if you could all join me in thanking Mr. Po Chung. For election candidates. We'll have our next session in April, late April. May, we have Marjorie Yang, where we're also launching our founding members program. Outside is conversation, exchange some business cards, and we have our mentors who introduce themselves and come find them as well. Again, Po, thank you, and thank you guys for joining us.